And then we've got kind of a fun one for you today. I would love to be a gun channel, but I can't really be a gun channel for a couple of reasons. First off, I'm not good enough with guns, and second off, I don't have access to enough different guns. But we've got something kind of cool today. Check this out. This is the DR200. This is the Daewoo DR200. Now, these aren't as poorly known as they used to be. There's been some excellent videos done on them, and I won't try to recreate what Forgotten Weapons and Military Arms Channel and all these far better channels than me have done. But I thought it was really, really cool, and we had a little bit of access to it, so I couldn't resist showing it to you. So what is this? This is the AR-AK love child. Yes. If the AR-15 and the AK-47 got really hammered one night, this is what would result. And it is a kind of a cool rifle. And back in the 70s, South Korea decided that they wanted to build their own domestically produced infantry rifle. And they started doing a series of tests. At the time, they were making the M16A1 under license from Colt. But Colt hated being a company back then, and wasn't going to make it profitable. It wasn't going to make it economical. And then apparently there was some shenanigans with the State Department. They were trying to put some pressure on South Korea to change some human rights. Anyway, and long story short, South Korea decides they need their own rifle, and this is what they come up with. Okay, so the perfect AR-AK hybrid. What do we mean? I'll show you. Here's what we mean when we say perfect AR-AK hybrid. So all you know that the AK is a long stroke gas system, long stroke gas piston system, which all that means is that the gas piston, this thing that sits in here like this, it travels with the bolt the entire way the bolt moves. All right, that's the classic AKM system that's allegedly so reliable. The gas never gets past the gas block here, it hits the piston here, the piston moves the bolt carrier and the bolt. Okay, that's the AK part of it. But what's the AR part of it? I don't know how well you can see that, but if you look, the bolt is actually just an AR-15 bolt carrier and group with the parts cut off that are necessary for the gas impingement. This is the DR200 bolt, or the K2 bolt, and that's the AR-15 bolt. If you look even from the side, you can see they're identical. The gas key's removed, but even the place where the gas keys sit has been repurposed on the DR to be the part that holds the gas piston. It's a really kind of clever little design. If we took the bolt out of the carrier, you would see that it's the exact same bolt, but with I won't try to do it on camera. It's the exact same bolt, but with the gas rings removed off the back. And I think that's the only difference. Just that tail end is just a little different. But other than that, it's an AR-15 bolt with an AK-47 operating system. It is the perfect hybrid of the AR-AK. It is the AR-AK love child. All right, so is it a good rifle? Well, shockingly, yes. I first got exposed to this exact rifle, as a matter of fact. This rifle was left to my father by his best friend who died this last year, and he gave my father this rifle in his will. But when he first got this rifle, he was very close to the whole family, and he considered himself like an uncle to me and my brothers and I. He got this rifle when I was about 20. I had just gotten out of boot camp, or I was just recently in the Marines, and I'd come home, and he had this, and he wanted to go shooting, and we went and shot it. So I was shooting ARs a lot back then, and I was relatively impressed with this. Now, it's important to remember, this would have been 1995 or 1996 when I first met this rifle. And civilian AR-15s were not available. They just weren't a thing. Those of you who remember back then, we were in the midst of the assault weapons ban. We'll talk about that in just a second. And AR-15s were just not, I mean, they were out there, but they were ridiculously expensive. And they were basically only Colt, H-bar, heavy barrel, high power type competition rifles. We hadn't had the AR revolution where they were so cheap and ubiquitous. They were really, really expensive, and they were hard to come by.
And this was the heyday of the cheap SKS, the affordable AK, the Mini 14. This was that whole era. This was the assault weapons ban, 1995, and I was really impressed with it. I hadn't seen it in a while. This was Mikey's pride and joy. He loved this rifle, and he would bring it out every once in a while, and we would shoot it. So I just shot it, took a couple shots out of it just to refamiliarize myself with it, and it's not bad. It's 8.5 pounds, like 8.6 pounds when I weighed it, just on a digital bathroom scale. So I don't know how accurate that is. So it's about a pound heavier than its one half of its parentage. The AR, it's actually much. This is 6.5 pounds with the scope as it sits right here. So this is actually 2 pounds lighter than this with the scope. It's got a kind of a weird trigger pull. I'm not really qualified to say it is a bad trigger pull. Almost no take up. You know, it's just there's just like this little bit of weird grit, and then bam, it's off. So it's not the trigger pull you're used to, but it's not a bad trigger pull. The accuracy testing on these things say it's a little slightly less accurate than the AR, which it should be with that long stroke gas piston. Y'all saw, I showed you that piston. You got all this mass boom, shooting back and forth with every shot, you know. So that whole piston just slams back and forward every time, and it makes accuracy a little harder. Follow-up shots a tiny little bit shorter. There is I'm not going to call it kick. There is a noticeable increase in recoil impulse. Obviously, it's 5.56. It's nothing remotely resembling painful or uncomfortable. These were designed so that South Korea could be a military ally with America. So it uses standard AR mags, and it uses 5.56. These do have the 1 and 12-inch twist, so you're kind of stuck with 55 grain, maybe some 62 grain. But look at the bottom here. It's the lower is essentially the AR-15 lower. And then you've got the charging handle here on the side where you would with the AK. It's got the AR bolt release, the AR mag release. So the furniture is pretty much AR. And then the one criticism you always hear about this thing is the safety. The safety is just awful. It's in the worst place possible. It's a 180-degree throw. You can't work it with your thumb. You know, there's just no way to... There's no way to rotate this thing back with your thumb. It's just in a shooting position. You know, I'm sorry, without your thumb. You know, you've got to take your hand off of the pistol grip to operate the safety. Unlike with your AR-15, where you can just flip it with your hand on the pistol grip, you can flip the safety. But that's really the only real criticism of the rifle. Shockingly decent weapon. And shockingly, because obviously y'all know I think the AK-47 is an obsolete dinosaur. I don't like it. I don't think it's as reliable as everyone says it is. And I think all of its other downsides means it's not a viable tactical option for today. This is a surprisingly good alternative. Now, it looks a little weird. And those of you who were around back in the 90s remember Bill Clinton's assault weapons ban. Actually, Joe Biden claims it's his now. And there was this 10-year period, I think from 1994 to 2004, if I remember correctly, where you couldn't sell weapons with a whole host of features. You couldn't manufacture or import new 30-round magazines. Now, you could still buy them, ones that had been previously manufactured, and leading up to the assault weapons ban, they manufactured just trillions of them. So they were a little more expensive, but they were still available. And you couldn't manufacture or sell new weapons that had a pistol grip. Now, I know that looks like a pistol grip, and we'll talk about that in a second. A flash hider, or a bayonet lug. And these were being imported at the time with a flash hider and a bayonet lug, and a much better stock than this ugly weirdness. Although this kind of looks kind of H&K to me, but I mean, I'm not an H&K fanboy, but I don't think it's that ugly. So what they did was, technically this isn't a pistol grip. Technically this is a thumb hole stock, because they put this piece of molded plastic here. This is why gun bands are so stupid and they'll never work. And then this is not a muzzle device. It's just a styled tube. It has no function. And then you can see they cut off the bayonet lug right here off of the gas block. So this is an assault weapons band era Daewoo DR200. You don't see them too often. It did come with this pick rail. It's actually got some decent peep sights. They're vaguely M16A1-ish, or they might be exactly M16A1-ish. But they're decent peep sights. I don't know why they imported them with the pick rail back then. Optics weren't on service rifles, weren't a big deal yet. But maybe it was just that forward looking of a rifle. Anyway, kind of cool, very fun. Dad's decided he's not going to hold on to this one, so I got him to let me do a video on it before he gets rid of it. Men, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, son.
Why is Mommy so butt ugly?
Well, son, now that's not very nice. Your mother has some fine qualities, and she's extremely reliable.
Yeah, reliably overweight, over the hill, and overused.
Now, son, look, I was really, really drunk.
How drunk could you have to be?
I was really drunk.